Alright, so I'm Steve Ward. I don't know if I can point this at myself. Designed this Tesla coil. I call it the QCW for quasi-continuous wave. There's quite a bit of power supply technology and signal processing going on to make this whole thing work. And I'd like to give, a brief, unrehearsed overview. We'll see how brief it ends up, but it's a lot to talk about. So that's the Tesla coil unit there. It's got kind of three levels to it, as I like to cut it apart. Let's see if the camera if I can hold it steady enough. The lower deck has this power supply that's feeding the Tesla coil switching section, which is the next level up. And then here we see the Tesla coil capacitor, primary coil, secondary coil, toroid, which is the standard Tesla coil, as it's historically known. So anyway, this power supply, there's a bit to explain here. Sorry for the shaking. We start off with 350 volts DC coming in, and then we move over to this half bridge switching, which is actually a Class D audio amplifier. It's got a feedback circuit that feeds into the power supply controller, or basically the amplifier control. So if we were, for example, to feed in a 4-volt peak analog input from our synthesizer, the power supply would take that 4 volts and then deliver a 350 volt peak to the power supply input of the Tesla coil. The Tesla coil sees that voltage and it just chops it up at 370 or 360 kilohertz, which is the resonant frequency of this system. And so depending on certain things like how quickly this voltage ramps up, the characteristic of the spark and consequently its tonality and loudness will change. If this ramp is on the order of 10 to 20 milliseconds, the sound of the spark is very, very quiet and smooth. But if it shoots up quick, over a millisecond or something, it takes on a really distorted sort of fat farting kind of sound. So anyway, let's look at how I'm controlling this thing during the audio. That's what most people really care about. I'm just running, generic Fruity Loop 7, their SimSynth plugin. That's coming out over USB into this Tascam box I have here. It's just a preamp. And then kludged up on the breadboard is just a op amp with a half-wave rectifier output. Nothing that fancy. It just boosts the audio output from this box to about 4 to 5 volts for this Atmel microcontroller I have on here. The micro is sampling that audio signal and basically just sending those sample values over the fiber optic output to the power supply of the Tesla coil. So that keeps me isolated from the power stuff. So it's all digitally isolated over fiber optic, which is kind of nice. So anyway, let me try turning it on. Hopefully it doesn't mess up the phone that I'm using for a camera. And then I can demonstrate some of the sound. I guess we're already good. So I go over here to Fruity Loops, and we're going to start the song. So that was a quick little demo. You can probably see better music in other videos. So I think I'm going to cut it there. Thanks, guys. Alright, I think the Tesla coil screwed up my phone.